one is this. That's the way it is.
Amen.
You know, all of it's that. It's all you learn by rote, and you memorize all this stuff, and it's boring to do that. But in your little Greek grammar that I wrote, all right, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of Greek language. And then we're going to look in the analytical Greek lexicon, and I'm going to show you first, second, and third declension, what first, second, and third declension is, so you'll know that it's there. Okay, that's all. I'm not going to go into any of it. We're just going to show you it's there and where to find it. Okay, this on page 3 of 5, the history of the Greek language, 2 and 3 of 5. Okay. Go all the way back to 1. And it says the many languages. Languages are divided into families and branches. The Western languages, which we are going to be talking about, stem from the Greek language. The oldest language that we have a written representative of is Sanskrit. In the Sanskrit, there are 8 cases of nouns, just like in Greek. Sanskrit is a kind of like an older sister to the Greek language. We all know that originally all the earth spoke one language. At the Tower of Babel, the languages were divided real well. There are, I think, 2,776 different language groups and 760 base languages. So God did a real good job there at Babel. Okay? Real good job. The scriptures say that in the days of Peleg, and by the way, the Peleg means divided, God divided the earth. And the written history of language. We have quite a bit of written history of languages. The oldest language in the Indo-European languages is the Greek language, in the Indo-European. Its dialects go back into absolute antiquity. We don't know how far it goes back, just a long time. We do not know how far back it goes. We have a written history as far as 1500 BC. That's like 3,500 years ago. Of the Greek language. That's a long time. The Greek language is probably the most perfect grammatical language in the world. Okay? You can take one word out of a Greek sentence and you know what part it plays in the sentence. Because it's totally inflected. How many of you know a foreign language? Brother, do you, Kurt, is that your name?
Well, I studied Latin, and I studied Spanish in high school.
Okay, Spanish and Latin, that's almost the same root.
Almost the same thing,
yeah.
And I studied a little bit of Greek and Hebrew in seminary, but not enough. I mean, we didn't have to do real extensive stuff.
You got a little grammar.
Yeah, got a little grammar.
That was it. Yeah. Well, those are all inflected languages. What it means is that the endings on all the languages tells you what part it plays in the sentence. Okay? So there's inflected language. And from all of these languages that are inflected, they all basically go back to Greek. Okay? And you're going to understand why that Greek is the language of science and medicine. And Latin is the language of what? Law. Okay? Why? Why? Okay, now we're going to look at this a little bit. We're going to spend 10 minutes on this, but you'll have a little bit of understanding, okay? It says, then we have the Greek and the dialects of the language. We have Homer's writings from about 900 BC in what we call classical Greek. The Attic and the Ionic. Okay, the Attic and Ionic. Now, how many of you ever heard of, you see in a lexicon called Attic? It'll call Attic or Ionic. Ionia and Athens. Attic is from Athens. Ionic is from Ionia. Now, there are all the dialects. The dialects go way, way back. Different scholars call this age of the Greek age by what we call the chief dialects. We have a lot of Latin literature handed down us today because of the Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire, not the Roman Empire. I want you to, there's a difference in it. What, Brother Randall?
It was neither Holy Roman or an empire.
That's right. It was what we call manipulation of the masses through the church. Okay? The Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, is the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? Almost all the empires and the church's documents were written in Latin after 300 A.D. Now, European languages. Now, we're going to come back to this now. All right? European languages. Latin is the basis of most of the Romance languages such as Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. Other branches of language such as English derived from the Teutonic language or the language of ancient Dutch and German. The English language has its roots in Gothic and Gaelic. The English language has many roots or foundations as it's a compilation of many languages including Latin and Greek. The people of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland speak the Scandinavian language. These are pretty old documents in those languages. Written in all of these languages, all dating back to the 4th century A.D. That's after Christ. Greek goes way back into antiquity. Way B.C., before Christ, okay? Slavic is a branch of the European tongue also distributed in Eastern and Southern Europe. It survives chiefly in Russian and Polish and some of the Balkan states. And Russian is written with what alphabet? Greek. All right? Bulgarian has the oldest literature, although Russia is probably the most widely distributed among these. Celtic is the ancient language of Western Europe, representing chiefly the Gauls and Britons, the Irish, the Scots, and the Welsh. Okay? Middle Eastern languages. The original Sanskrit we have in the Iranian branch represent mainly in the Persian language. It includes the Zan dialect, which is preserved in the Zan Avesta and sacred books of Zoroastrian religion. These writings have been handed down from, they say, the time of ancient Babylon, when Zoroaster, a possible contemporary with Daniel, lived. Okay, now these is where the Magi came in. All right, these are the Magi. All right, the Magi, we get our word magistrates from Magi. They were the rulers of the area, and those rulers came to look for Jesus when he's born because Daniel had told them the very year and day that he would be born. You have to remember these languages were related to each other in so many ways, each influencing each other. The Greek language was heavily influenced by some of the Asian languages. You have to remember now, the Hamitic culture was the father of invention. The Hamitic languages. What is the most famous, aggressively intellectual of the Hamite peoples? Tremendously brilliant people. The Chinese and Oriental. Okay? They invented almost everything that was invented, along with American Indians, and even the Aborigines. They invented medicine, pharmaceuticals. They learned how to use natural medicine to heal bodily ailments. The Greek language development now. When we look at the New Testament, we go back to the basis of the Greek language. We have a firm foundation going back to 1500 BC, predating Homer and Plato and some of the great writers. There was a formation of Greek that extends from prehistoric times. A group of these tribes, the Greek tribal period, or the dialects, a group of these tribes from the original stock migrated to a little peninsula of southern Europe, now known as Greece. The topographical area, or character of Greece, is extremely mountainous, and basically the tribes were separated to go to the mountain regions. They didn't go from over here, from there, in not a very long distance either. They were separated. So the languages were different. As a result, they developed separate dialects. The Greek Empire arose. There were many dialects, such as the Attic, the Bohemian, the Thessalonian, the Arcadian, the Doric, the Aeolic, and the Ionic. Now, these are all words you will understand, okay? As you see and you study in your Greek lexicons, you will see this referred to, okay? So now, I'm just giving you a little look-see into this, okay? Opening another door for you, that's all. The classic period of Greek literature spread from 900 BC to 330 BC. Now, Alexander the Great went conquer, and basically he conquered all the Western world. And he wanted them, that's where we have ecclesias, we get a word ecclesia. Each state in that Greek Empire had an ecclesia, a called out legal assembly of people that made the rules for that little area. Every little area that he conquered, he let them rule themselves under basic rules. And that was what we call the ecclesia. And that's how come ecclesias are independent little Baptist churches. Each making up its, following the rules of the kingdom, but the congregation rules the church. They elect officials, and the officials do what the body says. Okay? That goes way back yonder, doesn't it? See, now, I hope this is opening a few doors for you. That's why I'm going into this. All right, from about the classical Greek was great. It was basically formed by Ionic and the Hellenic or Attic dialects, the two major ones. Okay? Combining in one beautiful language, the old classical Greek grammars were basically founded on Attic and Ionic grammars. There was at least 8 cases in the nouns and many verb forms, and you, of course, you have a fluid verb called a what? Participle. Thank you, Cindy. A marriage of the noun and the verb. Okay? The Koine Greek period extended from 330 BC to 330 AD. Okay? Now, this is why we're going to find out that Greek is a scientific term, the psychological term, and then we're going to find out that the Latin is legal, the legal language. First of all great, the language of debates was what? Greek. I tell you what, when you wrote something down in Greek, there was no discussing what it meant. It meant. That's why God chose it to put His Bible in. Okay? That's what's so beautiful about it. From about 330 BC to 330 AD, the language of the Bible, all the Bible, Old and New Testament, was Greek. Koine Greek. Now, what does Koine mean? Universal Greek. Universal Greek. The universal language, or common. It was common to all men. When Jesus spoke and taught the Scriptures, most of the time He used Koine Greek, not like the movie The Passion did. It had it in Aramaic, you know. That wasn't correct. I don't know how he got off that far. But maybe that's what the Catholic said. I don't know what to do. But anyway, when Jesus spoke Aramaic, it quoted Aramaic. When He spoke Hebrew, it spoke Hebrew. It quoted in Greek. It just transliterated. Talitha kume. Eloi lama sabachthani. Eli, Eli lama sabachthani. If it quoted from Hebrew or Aramaic, it was quoted differently. 2 of the Gospels recorded one in Aramaic and the other in Hebrew. All right, He's probably spoke it in both languages. That's Psalm 22 and verse 1, by the way. All right? Most of the Hebrews did not know Hebrew. About 280 to 300 BC, the Hebrew Bible was translated into Greek, and that's what we call the Septuagint. That's why the Septuagint is so important, because that's the oldest scriptures we have until the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's another thing. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the Essenes or the Qumranians, if you want to call them, I've been there and looked at that and scrounged around in that country. I got to go over there in 1975 and 76 on an archaeological tour. That's a long time ago. You know, that's ancient history, I guess. I was reading Greek and Hebrew real good back then. And anyway, I got to read a lot of stuff back there. But the Qumranians, they don't know how old that bunch is. The Qumranians and the Essenes, I mean, you will get somebody's opinion or something. By the way, if something's written in a book, just look who wrote it and tell and read about him just a little bit. All books are slanted. Every history book is slanted, almost. You have to see what's going on. When they talk about the Qumran caves and the Dead Sea Scrolls or whatever, that area, it could go back to 1000 BC. It could go back. Those people could have gone back all the way to 1000 BC. We know that they go back over to more than 300 and 400 BC. What was the most copied book at the Dead Sea Scrolls? What was the book that was copied more than anything else?
Enoch.
The Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch that we have now goes back further than any Hebrew Bible we have. Think about that one for a while. They don't even have it in Christian literature. You ought to go read it. You can go to the website, discovertheword.com, on the right-hand side, look at Enoch and read that book. It'll knock your socks off.
Now, Enoch, of course, is in the Apocrypha.
No, it isn't. It was in the Hebrew Scriptures, and all the Hebrew rabbis greatly revered it, and they believed it was inspired of God, written by Enoch himself. Most Christian documents today, if you read anything about it, they'll just poo-poo it away, whatever. But the Book of Enoch, if you read the Book of Enoch, you'll find out it's quoted in every book in the New Testament, not just Book of Jude. All of Peter's writings, James, all of them quoted Enoch. Jesus quoted Enoch so many times. He didn't say he did, but they used freely. They quoted from ancient writers and all kinds of stuff. Enoch was greatly quoted. Jude quoted him directly and referred to Enoch. Period.
When he talks about the burial of Moses
Yeah.
as well.
All that. He talked about his preaching. Enoch preached for 300 years and spoke of the judgment coming in the blood. Okay? All right, Alexander the Great just basically conquered the whole known Western world and all the way back into India, too, by the way, in 14 years, spreading the Greek language.
How far west did he go? Did he go to Italy?
Yeah, all of it. Italy is Rome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Alexander the Great,
Yeah.
basically, I thought he started out going across Turkey and moving in.
Yeah, he did. He went all the way back, but the Greek culture conquered all the way to the British Isles or whatever you want to. The culture conquered the whole world. Rome is Italy. All right? Romulus and what was the other one?
Romulus and
Romulus and Remus. All right. Okay. The two that was born from the wild wolf and all of this stuff. Okay. The language of the Romans was Greek. Greek, not Latin. Greek. They laid their language aside because because Greek was so beautiful. And even if you go get the old Roman coins, it's printed in Greek, not Latin. In Greek. The Roman numerals are not Roman numerals, they are Greek numerals. All of it. You see all this, you learn this, okay? I know these are earth-shaking differences from what you've been taught so many times, okay? I mean, this jars you all over the place, all right? From 330 BC to 330 AD, Koine Greek was the language of the world. Why did it change? The Catholic Church. Everybody knew how to read the Bible in Greek. So if everybody had a Bible and could read the Bible in Greek, you couldn't pawn off the baloney that the Catholic Church began to pawn off on people. So then they took the language of the Bible out of the hands of the people, so the common man, and basically the Catholic Church brought in the Dark Ages. Baptists for almost all of those years. I hope I don't throw my shoulder out and play some more. Get to waving my hands around something like some Italian. Some Roman. The Greek culture conquered the Romans. But the Catholic Church wanted to take the Bible out of the hands of the people, so we have Jerome translating the Greek Bible into Latin. And then they banned all use of any Greek scriptures. Because somebody could read the Greek Bible, but the Latin language is the language of the educated, the doctors and lawyers. They demanded in the schools and the colleges at that time, the seminaries, so to speak, that you had to write your theses, your bachelor's, your master's, and doctor's theses had to be written in the Latin language. The language of the educated. You know that our first president of the United States, basically, well, there was actually one before that, but George Washington, let's just talk about him. George Washington considered himself an ignorant man. He would not even write his own speeches because he did not know Greek and Latin. All the educated, you were considered an ignoramus if you didn't know Greek and Latin. So welcome to the educated world. You're learning more than George Washington did, okay? That's how you got the legal language in Latin, the Catholic Church. They banned all the Bible, all right? The age of the Koine, 330 to 330 A.B. The Byzantine period went from 330 to 1453 A.D. Remember, the Byzantine are what we call the Greek Orthodox. They wouldn't change their language. They kept Greek. By the way, when they started dipping or sprinkling babies, the Greek Orthodox didn't do that. They dipped them because baptizo means to dip. Simple as that. From 1453 A.D. to the present time was what we call the modern Greek language, and it is nothing like ancient Greek or Koine at all. Now, first, second, and third declension. In this, on number 2 in here, as you see this, it gives you the first declension words. I haven't said this very much, but words, nouns come from the first declension, the second declension, or the third declension. The most common declension is the second declension. All right? If you look in this one, and by the way, there are in that little Greek grammar also, but thought I would show you this from the. This is the analytical Greek lexicon. All right? Here's your first, second, and third degree, or third declension words, nouns. All right? And it goes from nominative, genitive, optative, locative, instrumental, dative, accusative, and vocative. And how many cases is that? 8 cases. All right. Did you get a little bit about Greek tonight? Just a little bit about the history? Do you understand why now that the Greek is a scientific and everything, all the science and everything else goes back prior to the Holy Roman Empire? And after the Roman Empire, everything legal because the Holy Roman Empire owned and controlled basically all the world. In the United States of America, basically Spain controlled the west coast where we live, and the Church of England and the Dutch and everything on the east coast. Out here in America, the Catholics came in here and they established missions from Mexico to Oregon, basically. Those missions were slave plantations. They killed all of the Indians. They killed every wild Indian that was not living on a slave plantation, which they called missions. They killed them all. They were almost totally annihilated. That's what you call genocide and ethnic cleansing. On the East Coast, England and the Germans and of course the Russians were toward Alaska and back this way too. But they came in this land and said, "This is ours," even though it was inhabited. And they beat up the inhabitants. But those on the West Coast, they treated the Indians as subhumans. And have you ever heard of an Indian princess or an Indian prince? When the Europeans came to this land, they wanted to have tribal heads. There were no chiefs among Indians, by the way. Whether you didn't know that or not. They were only leaders. Leaders. The headdresses were awards that they had for what they had done in life. And anyway, they, from east to west coast, but if you look at the east coast, they dealt with them as humans. Beat them up a lot, killed a lot of them, but on the west coast, the Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Empire, thrashed everything. Total control. Total decimation and total slavery. All right. Now, 7 and verse 12. We got that out of the way. You can understand, you can see. That's the legal language, remember. Hoste. Ho. Man. Nomos. Hagios. Kai. He. Intele. Hagia. Kai. Dikaya. Kai. Agatha. All right. Let's look at this. So, hoste. That's on page 444. It comes from Holston T. All right. So that the indeed, that's a particle of affirmation right there. The indeed law, nomos. You get your word name out of that word. The word name comes from nomos. That your name is yours legally. With your name you buy things. With your name you sign contracts. All right. So, or inasmuch, or thus, the indeed law, holy. The law is holy. Okay? The law is holy. Now also open your Bibles to the different places. I want to, Cindy, you're going to read from the New Living, the Living. And Cindy, you're going to do the Amplified. How holy, and look at that word hagios. Look at that. Hagios. What kind of ending does that got on it? Ho and nomos. The definite article is ho. That's the. Ho, to, peristikon, arthron. All right? The definite article. All right? The describes the noun that it describes and points to it, and not only that, but it has degree in number, gender, encased with it. So here we have nominative, singular, masculine, don't we? The indeed law, holy. It's holy. The law is holy. And look at the word holy there. Hagios. Now what does holy mean?
Separate or apart.
Now that's what many people say.
Okay.
But that's not what it means. What does it mean? Not of earth. Not of earth. It means not of earth. In other words, it's holy. It's up from above. When we talk about something that's holy, it's set apart. We get that idea from the Catholic Church. When we have altars and all of these holy bones and everything, you know. The Baptist said about the holy altars and everything in the Catholic churches is that they're no better than coyote bones or some dead wolf or dog or donkey. They weren't holy at all. Yeah.
For really history, you know, I've read quite a bit of Augustine, and to me he sounds like a born-again believer, very solid. What is your opinion of Augustine?
Augustine was a man of his time. He had an experience of grace. He perverted God's word tremendously in his time and bring down into the Catholic. He started in the Catholic Church what became Catholicism and totally manipulation of the masses. Simple as that. That's where we have the power of the Catholic Church and the church and state becoming one. Baby baptism. All of that come from Augustine. Augustine had some good things, the city of God and all of that. Calvin and Luther both. Calvin just refined Augustine's. Calvinism is Augustine. That's what it is. Okay. Now let's go on. And he intele, and we're going to get into that a little bit further in the 8th chapter of Romans. We're going to talk about sublapsarian, supralapsarian, and infralapsarian. All right? He intele, the commandment. Now look at this. He intele hagia. Look at that. That's different, isn't it? We got two different kind of hagias there. Hagia and hagios. Why is this one hagia? What is the definite article, Cindy? Feminine. All right. The commandment, the word commandment, intele, is feminine word. So, the adjective has to describe number, gender, and case. What is describing? The definite article describes it. Now do you see the language, the power of Greek? All right, you see the power of Greek. It's inflected, totally inflected, so we see all about it. The intele, the commandment, holy and just, and agathe. Agathe is good. By the way, the word sin is a feminine word, and the word agathe here is feminine because it's describing the commandment of it. Whenever you see a saint, it's hagios, almost all the time. And of course, that's a masculine word. All right? Here, agathe means spiritually good. Spiritually good. And by the way, this verse here, verse number 12, is a conclusion from verse number 7. All right? The commandment is God's, and so is holy, like Him. The commandment is holy because God is holy. Just in the requirements and designed for our good. The commandments of God are not trying to keep you from having fun. They're trying to keep you from hurting yourself and each other. All right. Now, Cindy, what do you have there in the Living Bible? In verse number 12, and Rebecca, we'll look at yours here in the Amplified. Cindy, are you there?
But still the law itself is holy, and its commands are holy and right and good.
All right. And Rebecca, how does that one stand out there now, the Amplified?
The law therefore is holy, and each commandment is holy and just and good.
All right. If anything you can put in there, just like its maker and creator, God. The law is holy because God is holy. Okay? 7 and verse 13. Now, 7 and 13. Who can start that off? If you could read English only, you could read that word. Who?
Yeah.
All right. Agathon. Emoi. Agenitos. Thanatos. Me. Genoito. Hey. Hamartia. Hina. Mane. Hamartia. How about this one? Dia. Tu. Agathu. Moi. Kater gazo mene. Thanaton. Hina. Genete. Ka. Hyperbolain. Hamartolos. I just love hearing you guys read. I mean it. Hey. Hamartia. Thea. Tes. Intellect. All right. That's a long verse, but let's go back and look at it now. One thing about it, when I'm crippled and having to sit here in one place, I guess the microphones work better. Take off.
If you have to miss, I'll teach.
What?
If you have to miss, I'll teach.
Okay. You're doing good, Roseanne. I may get you to do that. I think Randall's been in that class longer than anyone. Randall and David. And of course, Randall is pretty good in Hebrew and pretty good in Greek. I don't know why I could get him to teach, though, or not.
Probably not.
How about you, Rebecca? You think you could take a swing at it?
Oh.
Therefore good. The good, therefore, to me, became death. Isn't that a funny statement? The good, therefore, to me, became death. Look at the word became there. Genomai. Now, in Genesis 1 and 1, when they translated the Septuagint from Hebrew, they should have used this term right here, that word right there. The word in Hebrew, in Genesis 1 and 2, is the earth she became formless and void. And if most of the religious group of the world, with all this young earth situation that they got today, if they could only learn to read Hebrew, they'd get rid of that, the young earth, because that's not what the Bible teaches. The earth is old. The earth was created in one of the beginnings, one of the Barashith, way back yonder. And the earth was destroyed by Lucifer in Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28. All right, and she became formless and void. And here is the root word for that word became. It should have been translated in the Greek, in the Septuagint, but they put in there ain first. Ain means kept on being. It kept on being formless and void. God didn't create void and formlessness. He creates perfection, people. He's a God of perfection. A God of perfection. He made a perfect law, and He makes perfect man in the beginning. He made perfect angels. He made perfect spirits, but all of them had volition. Even the creation itself, somehow, I don't understand this, but the Bible, we're going to find that in the book of Romans. We're going to see every doctrine in the Bible. We'll find the earth groaning for redemption. And what it's not talking about the trees so much, I mean, maybe they do, but animals. The animic world the world of animals want God's control again, like it was in the garden. What were animals created for? They're created for companions of man. They weren't food, people. They weren't food. They were companions. And there was not a suitable companion for man, so God put man to sleep. And He took from man Isha, or woman, in God of man, and gave her to man. And He said, I have gotten a footprint. Now, we talked about that here a while back, a footprint. Just like me. All right. Became deaf. Third person singular, second aorist, indicative middle. It became for itself, by the way. Deaf. Not may it become, he says. Third person singular, second aorist, optative. Look, this is the mode of hopeful affirmation. Not may it become, Paul says. But strong adversity conjunction. Page 15, if you want to write that down, Natalie, for Greek lexicon. The sin. He hamartia, the sin. That's nominee singular feminine. In order that might be put out in all light and viewed on a lighted stage with lights all the way around. How many of you have ever been in the movie industry at all, going around when they make movies? I was in 3 movies. The Nevada Story, Charlie Barrick, and Stallions. And I'm going to tell you something. You don't really realize how much light they use. They have light all over. I mean, you're burning up because it's lighted. Out there in the Alabama hills, which is right up by Lone Pine, they used to take great big reflectors, and they'd have all these engines fired up with generators with these 10,000, 15,000 watt bulbs, like spotlights, shining on these, because they didn't want any shadows. You couldn't have shadows when you did movies. You look in the movies, there's no shadows unless they want one. And that's what it's talking about right here. This is lighted up on a stage of life with no shadows. Lights from every angle. When in the Greek stages, they had lights all the way around with reflectors pointing at the person, so there was no shadow. And they usually did this in the evening, you know. All right, that it might appear. Third person singular, second aorist, subjunctive, see that? Might, and then passive voice. Might be made to appear. Sin. Hamartia. Through the good. Agathos. Spiritually good. To me, working for itself, kata ergazo mene, that is a nominative, singular, feminine, present, participle, middle voice. By working for itself. There. In order that, conjunction, page 201. Might become, third person singular, second aorist, subjunctive, middle. Might become for itself according to overthrowing. Hyperbole. We get a word right in the English language from that. What is it?
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole. That's where it comes from, right in English. What does a hyperbole mean?
Hyperbole means taking something to an extreme
It means an exaggeration. In short, an exaggeration.
No.
Jesus said it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a sewing needle than a rich man to get into heaven. He also said another hyperbole was, he said you strain out the little gnats, the little flies, the baby, the little tiny flies. Gnats is a tiny fly, the thing goes buzzing around and gets in your ear. Have you ever had a gnat in your ear? Boy, it's miserable. Hold on just a minute. Gnats. He said you strain out gnats, but you gulp down without skinning it or killing it, a whole camel in one swallow. Now, I tell you what, you can't swallow a camel. But Jesus said that. That's what you call hyperbole. All right, yes.
What is the A, under hyperbole, that word, what is the A stand for? Is that
Accusative. Singular. Accusative, singular, feminine. Accusative A. Let's see. Now, let's say with me. Nominative, genitive, oblative, locative, instrumentals, dative, accusative, and vocative. That's the 8 cases of Greek. Okay? That's what they are. And you will see them. You'll see nominative, genitive, oblative, whatever. And that's what that stands for. Okay? In the front of most of my books, interlinears, I had a little key to all of this, but I think they left it out of this one. All right. The overthrowing, the exaggeration, the excessiveness of sinful, the sin. The excessively sinful sin through the commandment. Through the commandment. All right, now let's, Cindy and Rebecca. Rebecca, I know you got it right there in front of you. All right, let's see what she says.
Did that which is good then prove fatal, bringing death to me? Certainly not. It was sin working death in me by using this good thing as a weapon, in order that through the commandment sin might be shown up clearly to be sin, that the extreme malignity and immeasurable sinfulness of sin might plainly appear.
The extreme malignancy. Extreme, 4th stage cancer, you know. No hope. That's the way sin is. There's no hope in sin, people. The law is good. But what the law does is shows how bad sin is. It shows how bad sin is. Sin is bad. Sin wants to destroy you. Sin is your master. It wants to be your master. But God said, I can be your master. And my burden is what? Light. All right, my burden is light. My pathway is easy. No stones in it, anything. Just go on. All right. 7 and 14. I hope that I've been bringing some things to you tonight in this to make you understand the Greek language just a little better. That's why we went into the... And you, Brother Jim, you had some questions to begin with. Now look at that. Look at the little markings up there. Oidamen. Okay, now look at the markings up there. You've got a smooth breather over diphthongs. Diphthongs are 2 Greek vowels that form into one sound. Sometimes they change the whole sound of the words. Can't even pull a cap off of this thing. Now here's 2. This is basically a diphthong here. It doesn't use it, but it is. Okay? What do we have here? In Greek it looks like what? Agalos. It's not agalos. Okay? It is what? Angelos. We get our word angel right straight out of that. Okay? Angel. And it changes when you've got 2 gammas in a row. It changes the first one to a nu. Okay? None. Nu is Hebrew. All right. And then here we have this word. Ook. 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 All right. And of course it would have a what kind of a breather above it? A smooth breather. It's not hook, but ook. It would be like hook if it was a rough breather, but it's a smooth breather. A smooth breather goes back that way. A rough breather goes back this way. And then you have the acute and grave and circumflex. The acute and grave is just basically like our English markings. By the way, the old Greek, the Koine and classical Greek didn't have these markings, nor did they have any separation. I've shown you this just a little. It was written in all in uncials. It would be like this. That would be like it is. NRK, in beginning. NRK, ain, and then whole logos. All would be run together. There would be no separations. In all the old Bibles, all of the letters were run together. You had to know Greek well enough to separate the words. My first Greek Bible I got was that way. It just happens that all I could find and all I could afford. And so I learned to read the uncials to begin with. Most people start off with the lowercase, minuscules, whatever you want to call it, as we read it today, but I started off backwards. And when I went over to the Middle East and to the Europe and all over, I could read Greek with fan because nobody that I knew of in my Greek classes could even read Ulysses. They couldn't even read them. But I had learned to do that. I think maybe how many of you have seen my Uncial Bible I brought? I went through the whole Bible separating every word. All right. That was good for me. Even though it was hard. Oidamen. Gar. That next one is real easy. Hoti. Ho. Nomos. Pneumatikos. Estes. Ego. De. Sarkinos. Amy. See that word Amy there? That's got a diphthong in it, doesn't it? All right. Tempramenos. Hypo. Tain. Hamartion. All right. Oidamen. First person plural, perfect, indicative active from oida. All right. Now, if you look at my little Greek grammar in the front of it there, you'll see all the different conjugations of verbs. Okay. Now, you can learn them like I did. I even have. How many of you got any of the things that I used to? I had little cue cards that I made up. How many of you have the cue cards that I wrote 40 years ago? Some of you do, maybe. Randall, you got them, don't you? All right. I've handed them out. I've copied them all on papers and handed them out several times where you could got them out and do that. It's better that you do it yourself. But you can, all the different, onese, omen, edi, usiane, omen, u, eto, all of the different, I had to memorize all of that in my Greek classes because they made us do that in Greek grammar. Okay? I'm not making you do that, but when you get to see these words, you can learn by seeing them, what they are. Now, brother, you had to learn some of them, didn't you?
Yeah, a little.
Huh?
A little.
Yeah.
A lot.
But, and then you learned the three declensions. Three declensions. First, second, and third declensions of nouns. You have to memorize all the endings. Singular and plural. Masculine, feminine, and neuter. And dual. Singular and duals. And plural. Okay? We have known that the law spiritual is. The law is spiritual, isn't it? It's spirit-filled because God is spirit-filled. God is spiritual, isn't it? We're made in His spiritual image. We're made in His blood-flowing likeness. And we're made in His shadow-casting likeness. Aren't we? We're made in His triune image. By the way, there aren't three gods. You're not going to see three gods. You're going to see one. And that presence, the physical appearance of God is what? Jehovah. And who is Jehovah?
Christ.
Jesus. Simple as that. The law spiritual is present, indicative, active. Third person singular. Amy A. Eston. Amen. All right. Amy A. Eston. It is. All right. The law spiritual it is and continues to be. Present tense. Present, indicative, active. I. Now the medical term ego, or what we call the ego. The ego. In psychology, they talk about the ego of man. We talk about that all the writers talk about the ego of man. That's where the word ego comes from, right there. Ego. All right? Ego de. Weak adversative conjunctive particle. Page 85, that little day there. Fleshly. Sarkinos. Kaihologo sarxaganato, John 1:14. And the word flesh he became, and Jehovah, flesh he became. And He dwelt among us, and we see God in flesh. And He's going to say that in the book of Romans pretty soon, plainly. God broke in and broke forth and brought Himself into the world through the human race. And He became human. So He was related to the human race to redeem him, and to the world to redeem him. All right? That's why I said the whole world groans for the redemption, and you'll see that in the book of Romans also. The book of Romans has every doctrine in the Bible. And some of them don't even know the rest. Having been sold, nominee, singular, masculine, perfect, participle, passive, having been sold under sin, under the sin, under the sin. Accusative singular feminine. All right. Now let's go back and look and see what we got, Cindy and Rebecca. Rebecca, since you've got the thing open there, what do we have?
We know that the law is spiritual, but I am a creature of the flesh, carnal, unspiritual, having been sold into slavery under control of sin.
All right. And Cindy, what do you have?
So the trouble is not with the law, for it is spiritual and good. The trouble is with me, for I am all too human, a slave to sin.
All right, a slave to sin. All too human and a slave to sin. A slave to the flesh. Any of you still get hungry? All right. Get hungry? Sure you do. That's fleshly. But you know why? You know why the early people, Christians, fasted? You know why they fasted? To get the flesh under control. That's right. That's why they fasted, to get the flesh under control. You talk about almost every prophet fasted, didn't they? Paul fasted. Almost all of those people fasted to get their bodies under control. That's why. That was the whole purpose of it. This saying no to the flesh. No to the flesh. All right. That was the reason for fasting. All right, 7:15 now. It's not 7:15 on the clock. 7:15 here. Okay. Ho. All right, ho. It's a sharp because it's got that marking to the left. Ho. Gar. Kater ga zomana. Who? Gnosko. All right, and actually we shouldn't really say gnosko, but what? Nosko. You swallow that. All right. We get our word knowledge right straight out of this word. Knowledge comes right out of this word gnosko. All right. By the way, that is present, indicative, active, first person singular. Oase, omenede, uce. All right. Oase, omenede, uce. Can you say that? Oase, omenede, uce. Now you've got present, indicative, active down. The whole thing. First person, first person singular, and second person, and third person, and then plural. All right? Not I know, not I understand, not I have knowledge of, not or not which I wish. Fellow, I wish. That word has a desire in it, fellow does. That means spiritual activating force. What is your desire? What is your wish? I'll tell you what, when you're hungry, you can't think about much anything else, can you? But you get it under control, and then you can think. Go beyond it. Go beyond pain and go beyond hunger. Boy, I had to go beyond pain to get here tonight, I'll tell you that much. Boy. For not I wish which I wish. For not I do which I wish. Not I know which I wish. This. A little old accusative, singular, neuter, demonstrative pronoun from Hutos, by the way. I practice daily, proso. First person singular, present, indicative, active. But, strong inversive conjunction is all here, but the whole word is all of it. You drop it because the next word is also a vowel. So you say all hope. So it just runs it together. See, it's smooth. All hope. If it said all of whole, it wouldn't be. You would break up your... They're trying to run words together. It's for euphony. All whole, miso. But which I hate. I hate it. I despise it. This I practice every day. First person singular, present, indicative, active from poio. Poio is where we get our word poem from. Poem. What's a poem? Anybody ever written a poem?
Yes.
You written a poem? My uncle wrote a poem. The mule stood on the burning deck, the land he would not tread. They drew a halter around his neck and cracked him over the head. I'll never forget that. He got up and recited that before his class, and they'd give him a beating.
No.
I had to go home and write. I had old Bill, my uncle, Bad Bill. All right. But I remember that. I've never forgotten that. Which I work, for which I work. For myself, with that middle voice in there. First person singular, present, indicative, middle voice. Look at the volition in man. Do you see the volition all over the place? See the middle voice? in subjunctive modes, all of this. This is very important to the Bible because you have a will. You have a will, okay? Not I know. For not which I wish this, I spiritually want. First person singular, present indicative active. This I practice daily. But which I hate, this I practice daily. He wants to practice spiritual things, but the cotton-picking body gets in the way.
Yep.
Amen.
All right. Cindy and Rebecca. Rebecca, we'll let you start.
For I do not understand my own actions. I am baffled, bewildered. I do not practice or accomplish what I wish, but I do the very thing that I loathe, which my moral instinct condemns.
He despises, he loathes it, and his moral conscience condemns it. What do we have there, Cindy?
I don't really understand myself, for I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate.
Yeah. By the way, if you take that Living Bible and you go back to the Jewish Publication Society, Old Testament, especially in the Old Testament there, you'll find out that the Living Bible is almost what the Jewish Publication Society said. All right? The Old Living Bible is even better than the New Living Bible. I like the old one better. Does it have the old Living Bible? The Living Bible? Doesn't have the... I should have brought that. I can show you the difference in it. All right, 7:16. 7:16. We want to do one more, or you want to quit right there? You want another one? Okay. All right. All right. First class conditional particle. A. Day. Ho. Ooh. Fellow. Tuto. What's this one? Oil. Seem fema. Toe. No move. Pote. Kalo. That word seem fema there. What in the world? Does that sound like an English word? Seem fema?
Sympathetic or something like that.
How about symphony?
Exactly.
Right out of Greek.
Yeah,
Symphony.
I agree with
Because
you.
it's a scientific, musical, scientific term.
Uh-huh.
Symphony. Together sound. That's what it means, together sound. But since, that word since right there, this condition is determined as fulfilled. But since, it's not an if. But since, which not I wish, this thing I do, I agree with, the law, that good. All right, the law because good. All right, there it is. I agree with it. I'm in sympathy with it. And I'm in sympathy with it. Sympathy comes from pathos. Symphony means I together sound with it. That's what this one is. Sympathy means to be pathetic with, compassionate with. This one here means to sound with it. It means you're going to, if you use a musical term, when you got an instrument that's clashing with another instrument, one guy's playing a G and one guy's playing an F or something, at the same time, it doesn't sound very good. It's just all messed up. Yeah. That's like people singing and being on the wrong word. Everybody on a different word. Oh, caught by confusion. This means to sound together with. All right. Rebecca.
Now, if I do habitually what is contrary to my desire, that means that I acknowledge and agree with that the law is good, morally excellent, and that I take sides with it.
All right, Cindy, what do you have there?
But if I know that what I'm doing is wrong, this shows that I agree that the law is good.
All right. That's what it means there. Well, we'll start at 7:17 unless you want to go further. That's good enough for me tonight. You got I'm done in. All right, and this is 5:4, isn't it? If you look back there in these things, sometimes in some of the books I do, it'll be back in the 70s. And I think this one probably was. Probably you'll see some of the pages where I taught it in the Greek class in 1970s. That's a long time ago. Well, thank you for your attention tonight.
Thank you.
And God bless you all. Pray for me this week. I tell you what, it was a difficult task getting here tonight. This was a mess. I threw my shoulder out of place right before I came, and I have had diverticulitis for a week. I haven't had any solid food since I was here last week, and my back was messed up, and oh boy, I just been having a real good time. But I'm here. to get me here one more time. I never know whether it's going to be my last class or not, the way I'm going. All right. Brother, do you want to lead us in prayer?
Father in heaven, we thank you so much for Brother Jim. We thank you for bringing him to us here tonight. And I pray that you'll put your healing hand on him. As he's healed us with his words, that you'll heal his body with your love. And we thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here together and to learn your word in such a wonderful, specific, and precise manner. Ask that we can live that word, put the flesh aside, and grab hold of the spiritual things as we leave this place. And it's in the strength and power of your Son's name we ask it. Amen.
Thank you for your attention and the perseverance of those hard seasons. Thank you, young lady.
What can
Do
help
you
you
need help with anything?
pick up?
Yellow, that would be nice. I appreciate it. Let me get this stuff.